Welcome to our YouTube channel, where wisdom meets inspiration. In this channel, we share valuable insights to help you become the best version of yourself. Our content is designed to uplift your spirit and enrich your life. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay connected with this incredible journey. Click the subscribe button below.
So this was about 7-8 years ago. One of the monks, he showed me that Times of India on the front page carried the headlines, SRK rocks. And Swamiji was very happy. He was full of excitement. Like, see, finally they have understood that Sri Ramakrishna rocks. I said, Maharaj, don't get carried away. That is not Sri Ramakrishna, that is Shah Rukh Khan. So, as I noticed when I asked you this question, among you, how many have Swami Vivekananda as your hero or an icon or an idol? Very few raised your hands. And probably that has something to do, unfortunately, with how Swami Vivekananda has been represented in the social media or in the social discourse, in the public discourse. Who is a hero? Hero is someone who is dashing, who has this dynamism about him, right? And everything about Swamiji's life and Swamiji's teachings is, if not anything else, completely in a very intense sense, dynamic. Swamiji was a hands-on kind of man. He was not a man who gave you theories and asked you to understand them and build philosophies out of these theories. He was a man who showed you that spark which was within you and turned you into someone who could fix all the problems in your life and also in the lives of fellow beings around you. He was a hero himself, but he was much more than a hero. He was a person who built heroes, as he would say about his master, that what has this Vivekananda done? Sri Ramakrishna can produce thousands of Vivekanandas from the dust. But actually, if you see, Swami Vivekananda has produced thousands of heroes and heroines. And how do we know that? All you have to do is study the developmental history of this nation, India or Bharat. And you will find that. Who was the person who brought in the agricultural revolution in India? M.S. Swaminathan. Who was his hero? Swami Vivekananda was his hero. Who was the person who brought nuclear revolution in India? As he was saying, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Who was his hero? Swami Vivekananda was his hero. I can go on and on about this. Not only in India, outside India. Today, we are talking about a corporation named after Nikola Tesla. We are talking about journeys in space. Who was the person who had a conversation, a meaningful conversation, an engaging conversation with that Nikola Tesla? Swami Vivekananda. Who was the person who increased the dynamism of the great foundation called the Rockefeller Foundation? Swami Vivekananda. How can one person, one human being who did not see 40 years of life on this planet, how can that person influence so many lives? And when he gave his first lecture in Chicago, when he was 30 years old, how can that happen? How can a person influence so much of history within such a short time of his life? That is the question. And that is where dynamism is required. How many of you have actually read Swami Vivekananda? I request you to read him. Because when you read him, something happens inside you. Swami Vivekananda does not soothe you. Swamiji does not put you into sleep. He is not those pulp fiction books which have become very popular nowadays. Love this, love that. He is not that. He disturbs you in a positive manner. He activates the dynamism inside you, makes you do something about things around you. I'm reminded about an anecdote which happened in the life of a Hindi author in the early 1950s. This person had gone to Japan. Incidentally, Swami Vivekananda wanted every young man of India and young woman of India to visit that country. And after going around the country, Japan, this person was sitting in the train about to leave the country. And he said that I went around this place but I didn't find apple. And someone who was a Japanese, heard that. Now if that were to happen in Mumbai, suppose that were to happen in Mumbai. Suppose somebody says, Mumbai, it is, I did not eat, say, vada pav. I did not eat vada pav. So people will be like, हाँ, आजकल तो vada pav पहले जैसा नहीं रहा. We will immediately say, yeah, vada pav, that quality is not there nowadays. We will immediately agree with that person. But look at this Japanese gentleman. He said, wait a minute. He went out, immediately came, he returned with a basket full of apples, and he folded his hands and said to that writer, Hindi writer, that please never in your life say that you don't get apples in Japan. That is patriotism. So many people, many youngsters ask us, we have got independence, we have become independent, so how do we be patriotic? Now we can't do anything. India has become free. Patriotism is when you see something wrong around you, you don't complain, you don't blame the government, you don't blame the local municipality. You go there and try to fix it. Because it is as much as your problem as it is the problem of the nation. Because you are the part of nation. And this is the gospel, this is the message of participation, a dynamic participation that Swami Vivekananda gave to the youth of India. When he was speaking to the youth in Chennai, he gave 5 lectures in Chennai, then called Madras. In one of the lectures titled My Plan of Campaign, towards the end of the lecture he says, if you can help this country, he compares the country to a ship which has got some holes and is sinking. He says, this national ship of ours is sinking. If you can help in plugging these holes, in blocking these holes, do that. But if you can't, do not curse this nation. Let not one word of curse arise from your lips. If you can help, otherwise simply shut your mouth. And if you cannot help, let us all sink together. But let us not work in opposition to the nation. Because if you do that, you would be working in opposition to yourself. Because you are part of this nation. And that is what we need to understand today. We need to understand that all the institutions you see around you are the creation of people like you. Every time you blame a police person, a policeman, police personality of not working properly, you are actually blaming yourself. Every time you find fault with your teacher, you are actually blaming yourself. Every time you find fault with a doctor who is failing to treat the patient, you are actually blaming yourself. Because you have to remember that not in the distant future, one of you will become that police person. One of you will become that teacher, and one of you will become that doctor. So we need dynamic people. We don't need people who over a cup of coffee or tea, as they say, lot can happen over a cup of coffee. So over a cup of coffee or tea or some other beverage, go on and on in criticism of the nation, of society and traditions. We don't need such people. We don't need people who do not believe in themselves and as a result do not believe in others. Swamiji said, what is the difference between a person who succeeds and another who does not? He said the difference is of Shraddha. He said this word is very difficult to translate. But if we try to understand what it is, it means faith in oneself, faith in one's tradition, faith in one's country, and it also means sincerity of purpose. Are you sincere? Do you have a purpose? Do you have faith in yourself? Do you believe yourself? Do you believe that the tradition which you follow, the nation in which you are born, belongs to something great? If you have that, that is when you have Shraddha. And when you have Shraddha, whatever you do will become excellent. Whatever you do will leave a mark on society and on the minds of other people. It will leave a mark in history. That's again a problem we are facing as a nation today. We have, unfortunately, regrettably, an attitude which is called chalta hai attitude. Sab chalta hai. We are content with mediocrity. We are content with problems. We do not have the courage, neither we do have the wisdom to question things. Not in a way that destroys things, but that in a way which constructs and brings together solutions. And that dynamism will make you, in the true sense of the word, youth. If you are not dynamic, if you are not dynamites like Sharad, or so many other dynamites this country has produced, you would not qualify as youth. And we need that dynamism. We need that model of being a hero, of being an icon. Many people have this problem. The youth says, where do we find a model? Where do we find an icon? We do not have any life whom we can emulate. That is not true. There are many people. Only you have to read. And if you do find that there are not many, why do you not yourself become a model? Why do you not yourself become an icon? Why do you not live a life and leave something for others to follow? And that kind of dynamism, that kind of transformation in your lives is what Swami Vivekananda wanted. Also, he wanted participation. The religion he preached, the education he talked about, and all his writings and speeches convey this one thing. He never talked about passive anything. For him, religion was not passive, neither was education, nor was anything else. For him, everything was dynamic. Swami Ranganathananda, the 13th president of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission, whom Sharad quoted, used to say two phrases. He used to speak about two phrases: static piety and dynamic spirituality. If you are wearing some kind of clothes, if you are putting a tilak, and if you go to temple regularly, that is static piety. You are pious. And that is static. But if you don't, as Sharad was pointing out, if you don't see the suffering around you, if you cannot empathize, there is a wonderful word for empathy, or there is a wonderful word in Sanskrit. I don't think empathy is the right translation. Sahanubhuti. If you cannot experience with those who are underprivileged, those who are less fortunate, if you cannot experience their pain, Swami Vivekananda would call you a traitor. And that is the kind of dynamism, dynamic spirituality, dynamism that we need today. That is the kind of vibrant human beings, vibrant youth that we need today. And every one of you can change things. As Sharad was quoting the case of E. Sridharan. Again, this is an often asked question. What can one person do? Yes, one person can do. All the personalities which we study about in history are lone personalities. Imagine a Swami Vivekananda who had no experience of giving a public lecture, going abroad. It was not like this as it is today. It was not at all easy. In 1893, he sailed from Mumbai and going abroad, and where people were there for a couple of years studying philosophy so that they could speak in that parliament of religions. Swami Vivekananda went there only with faith in himself, in his master Sri Ramakrishna, and in the great tradition he belonged to of the Sanatana Dharma. He went there and he spoke. And if you carefully see his lecture, we don't find that it is full of scholarship or something, no. But imagine the mark that he left, that even today we are celebrating that lecture which he gave, which lasted few minutes. So Swami Vivekananda had substance, but he also had the dynamism and he also had the style. And that is exactly what the youth stands for or should stand for. And so we need youth who participate not in creating problems, but in creatively producing solutions to problems. We need youth who identify themselves with their traditions, who don't think it is fashionable to criticize traditions without first understanding them. Swamiji writes in a letter to his disciples in Madras. He says, "What are you? A race of do-turds." Means a race of people who do nothing basically. And what is the height of young India's ambition? 30 rupee clerkship, he says. This was written in 1893. And now how has it changed? Now it is not clerkship, it is some IT software engineership. And it is not 30 rupees, it is probably 30,000 rupees. But not much has changed, unfortunately. And he says, you trying to memorize stray bits of European brainwork, promenading the seashore with books in your hand. Means, those days people he was referring to the Marina Beach in Madras, now called Chennai, where people used to walk on the seashore with books in their hand, trying to memorize those things and get mark, with children cackling at your feet. Because those days people used to get married off quite early. So they had children, they had wives or husbands, and then they used to try to get a decent, so-called decent job. And that is what Swamiji was referring. It has not changed at all. Now it is 30, instead of 30 rupees, it is 30,000 rupees. Instead of clerkship, it is IT software engineership. And instead of children cackling at your feet, it is your WhatsApp messages cackling in your mobile phone. Then he says, is there not enough water in the ocean to drown you diploma, gowns, etc.? This is also a coastal city. Here also there is ocean. I am trying to draw your attention to that question. Is there not enough water in Juhu beach to drown all these mobile phones? Don't get me wrong, technology is needed and it has brought marvels and it will continue to bring marvels. But there should be wisdom in using that technology. Or as in Hindi they would say, chullu bar pani mein doob maro. So we need to find purpose. We need to be participative. We need to be dynamic. And understand that the end of all evils, end of all problems is not getting a job. Imagine the dynamism of a monk who had no cares of the world, but when his disciple approached him, he said, why don't you get some masalas from this place and go to New York and sell? I will tell my disciples and they will arrange. So he was also thinking of marketing. He said, go to Banaras, get some saris and sell them. And as we speak, in New York there is a person who has been selling dosas for many years now. And there is a huge queue for buying his dosas. So why don't we become dynamic? Why don't we imagine things that we can do by being entrepreneurs? Why can't we change the condition that I have to always beg for a job and somebody has to offer it to me on a platter? Why can't we create jobs for others? And while we are talking about as everything is going bad around us, that is one way to look at things. And the other way is to feel dynamic and to try to change those things by doing what you do, by understanding your strength and by believing in you, and also by believing that it is possible. And if we do that, then we would have rightly followed Swami Vivekananda. And it doesn't matter how much money you make. It really doesn't matter, but it really matters. You see, when Sharad was introduced, usually we are all enamored by in what school we study, what college we go to. But if homeschooling and a proper perspective can bring a change in your lives, all these brandings pale in insignificance. So what really matters is what really you think about yourself, what you think you can. As Swami Vivekananda famously said, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't. So it's my request to all of you, and it's also my prayer to Swami Vivekananda, that let this dynamism, let his participation, let his vibrant heroism enter into each one of you, and let all of us become messengers of strength and messengers of dynamic activity, and show it through our lives that it is possible. It is possible to become a decent human being, and it is also possible to bring faith and strength into the lives of other human beings. Thank you.
Become Swami Vivekananda's messenger. Share the video with 3 of your friends.